When I saw the sea-like Yangtze River estuary, it was no wonder why old Wuhu was so important. I had never been to Anhui before, so I naturally had no idea where Wuhu was. Wuhu is obviously a very important existence for Anhui. It was once the strongest city in Anhui, and the capital of Anhui was also this city. Born because of water and prospered because of commerce, Wuhu has been a famous city in Jiangdong since ancient times. It was opened as a port in the late Qing dynasty, connecting rivers and seas, and the rice market was prosperous. We merchants gathered there. It was once known as the three major commercial ports of the Yangtze River, together with Shanghai and Wuhan. Today, Wuhu no longer relies solely on the Yangtze River to survive. Today, Wuhu has transformed from a traditional wharf into a modern industrial center. Intelligent manufacturing and technological innovation are taking Wuhu to take off. Today, let's take a look at what Wuhu looks like. Wuhu was formerly known as Jiuzi. In the spring and autumn period, the state of Wu named it Jiuzi, because there were many pigeons in the lakes and grasses. In the Qing dynasty, it became an important commercial port in the middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze River. Due to the importance of Wuhu's location, it became the most important for major rice markets after it was opened in the late Qing dynasty. At the confluence of the Qingyi River and the Yangtze River, there stands a 300-year-old Zhongjiang Tower, a feng shui pagoda that guards this important river mouth. The history of Wuhu's customs almost condenses a history of humiliation and self-reliance in modern China. I personally think that this Binjiang Park is the most important attraction in Wuhu. There are not only scenery here, but also stories. There was also a movie describing the story here. This movie describes how a prostitute broke through secular concepts and became a patriotic painter. After watching this movie, I think you may feel more when you visit the old Wuhu customs again. Many people say that watching the Yangtze River in Wuhu feels a bit like watching the sea. Yes, I have been to several cities along the Yangtze River recently. The Yangtze River in Wuhu is indeed the widest. Moreover, the lack of high-rise buildings in Jianbei, Wuhu, also makes the scenery wider. The busy cargo ships in the river make the Yangtze River vibrant again. This is the best scenery in Wuhu. I came to Wuhu ancient city not because I was very interested in it. I visited too many ancient cities and found that they were too homogenized. I think this is why so many ancient cities died in China in the past. When I came here, I didn't feel much difference at first, but as I walked around, I found that there were old brands, new fashion brands, food, entertainment, and everything else. There was no shortage of adults and children. There was even a blind date corner. It was really troublesome. There are still many old houses preserved here, and the streets are built with ingenuity. However, there are still many private houses here. Who is so lucky, living in such a well-protected history? I have said in the past that if an ancient city is built into a place only for tourists, it will not be far from being abandoned. This Wuhu ancient city is indeed played with various tricks by the locals. People taking pictures and dancing in the city god temple are having fun. There is also a Guanji temple in Wuhu. This temple was built in the Tang dynasty. Few temples in the Central Plains could escape the destruction of war. Now you can't see the Tang structure, only the Qing dynasty's reconstruction of the Song dynasty. The current Guanji temple is very busy. Fortunately, I came early and almost couldn't find a parking lot. There are so many people burning incense and praying. This is indeed one of the 4 famous temples in Anhui known as Shaojiahua. I guess many people also come here to seek marriage, otherwise how could this ladder be hung with heart-linking locks? The most amazing thing is that I also saw the leader inspecting the cleaning robot exhibition at the gate of the temple. The strange shape and a little cute, it seems that Wuhu has hope of becoming a clean city in the future. This is a bit sci-fi. Who can have this kind of experience of visiting a temple? As I was walking, I suddenly saw a standard medieval Gothic building. I never thought that I could visit a church in Wuhu. How could I not visit such a well-preserved European building? From today's perspective, this church may not be gorgeous, but it is hard to imagine how luxurious such a building was in China 100 years ago. The importance of Wuhu in East China after its opening can also be seen from this church. Like all the famous cities along the Yangtze River, Wuhu also has its own stories, some glorious and some tortuous, and the stories about Wuhu are still continuing. We turn our perspective from tourists back to observers. I feel that Wuhu is now rising rapidly from an ordinary third-tier city. In 2024, the total GDP of Wuhu will reach 512.05 billion yuan, officially entering the 500 billion city club. In terms of new energy, Wuhu's Chery Group ranks among the world's top 500 companies, and Wuhu's automobile industry revenue has reached 584 billion yuan, a year-on-year increase of 31.4%. There are also robots and the great development of the drone economy, which has consolidated Wuhu's position as the second city in Anhui. Of course, you can see the development of Wuhu not only from economic data, but also from urban construction. When I came, the whole city almost became a big construction site. The Zhongshan Road pedestrian street was being renovated and rebuilt, and even the entire dying lake was emptied. Seeing this light rail passing through the city, I think this is definitely not a configuration that a third-tier small city could have in the past. This really left me with a thought. Come to Wuhu again in the future, and it will probably be a different scene at that time. Wuhu is also a city of parks. There are 72 comprehensive parks of various sizes in the urban area, and 103 new Wuhu Xiaoyuan pocket parks have been built. The living environment can be seen. Before I left Wuhu, I made a special trip to experience the most important local delicacy, red-skinned duck. This Shaodai roast duck seems to be a famous brand. I asked them, and the status of this red-skinned duck may be different from that of Beijing roast duck. It is not just eaten occasionally, but a common meal on their table. I think the taste is also different from Nanjing salted duck, which is softer and sweeter. I heard that in Wuhu, buying half a red-skinned duck, cutting it into pieces and pouring the marinade, and drinking a bottle of cold beer is the most authentic food enjoyment. Unfortunately, I was driving, so I couldn't enjoy the beer. It is difficult to define Wuhu in one sentence. It was a famous city in Jiangdong 2,000 years ago, and it is also the second largest economic city in Anhui today. When people discuss the ranking of cities, Wuhu people are more concerned about whether the night snack stalls in Fenghuang Food Street are still steaming, and whether the evening breeze in Binjiang Park is still gentle. This city has a strange sense of balance. While Chery Automobile is heading to the world, the old Wuhu people are still obsessed with a bowl of authentic red-skinned duck. The roller coaster of Fantawild Park roars past, but the sunset of Shirley-Jiangwan is always calm. Wuhu never cares about the label of a future cities. It just grows quietly at the intersection of the Yangtze River and Qingyi River, allowing industrial ambitions to blend naturally with the fireworks of the city. Just as it has witnessed the glory of the rice market and experienced the pain of transformation, it has always maintained the confidence and calmness of the pearl of the Anhui River.